Hey, it's Jason Creel and you're watching The Lawn Care Life. I've been doing a series of videos following the track of this yard all season long as I try to get it back into shape. This yard when I started had full of weeds, very thin Bermuda. And today I want to show you the progress. We're now in late July. And if you want to go back and watch the other videos, I can put a link in the description to the playlist as you can start from the beginning. But let's go ahead and take a look at what the yard looks like now, and I'm going to tell you the course of action for today. All right, so I'm not overly thrilled with how the yard's looking so far, but there are some pluses and minuses to the situation. So, you know, I am pleased. We fertilized real heavy last time, and there's been a lot of progress in the Bermuda as far as how it's filled in. Now, there's still some thin spots. You can see here where that's not all, some of that's just where the grass has turned a little brown, but some of it's still bare spots. And what you'll notice is, and where there's a lot of bare spots, there's also a lot of crabgrass. You know, you can see that's crabgrass there. And you know, and what happens is when you have a thin yard, you don't want to go too heavy with it with the pre-emergent, and you have bare spots. You know, it's probably best not to even put a pre-emergent in there, because what happens, that can keep the Bermuda grass from actually rooting and spreading over into those bare spots. Well, when you go light on the pre-emergent or skip the bare spots, what happens is you end up with crabgrass, which is what we've got here. Now, it can be dealt with from a post-emergent standpoint. We can talk about that in just a minute, but hopefully I can get this Bermuda to fill in more so over the next couple of months, so that next year I don't have to go easy on the pre-emergent and there won't be any crabgrass. But you know, typical for Bermuda lawn, just gets eat up with crabgrass without a proper pre-emergent application. So you can see crabgrass all through here. But then, you know, as you get up here a little further, the grass was thicker. Still has some brown spot. That looks like actually where it was cut, you know, let grow a little long and then cut short. So not a bare spot, just brown from mowing. But it's thicker here, and you have virtually no crabgrass. And then you come here and you've got just an unbelievable patch of nutsedge. Now the thing is, we sprayed this nutsedge last time, and it's just a very difficult weed control. I mean, by looking at it, you couldn't really tell anything has been done to it. But we will treat it again today, and hopefully next year there'll be less nutsedge. But this yard definitely has plenty of nutsedge. Get up here, got a little more crabgrass. Overall, you know, a lot of weeds, way more weeds than we'll be hoping for next year. But like I said, a big part of what we're trying to accomplish this year was filling in the Bermuda, and you know, it's made a lot of progress as far as that goes. Not perfect, but I'm just picturing this yard next year with virtually no crabgrass, a lot thicker, healthier turf. And then what'll probably be left, just to be honest with you, is the nutsedge patch that we'll continue to work on and see if we can get under control. You know, I was going to mention one other factor in the crabgrass. This might be actually the most prominent factor as why there's crabgrass. You know, on the yards this year, we had some warm days early in the spring, or actually late winter. So yeah, it's possible that the crabgrass actually started germinating in February, and I can't remember exactly. I have to go back and look at my records as far as when I started this particular lawn. So it's possible that the first pre-emergent application I put down was after some of this crabgrass had already germinated. And that being the case, and it probably is, then next year, you know, I'll be getting the pre-emergent down at an earlier time frame, you know, possibly January or early to mid-February. And so I would expect far less crabgrass between the grass being more established and an earlier pre-emergent application. A couple of the weeds I'm seeing today, just to show you real quick. It's hard in the shadows over here, but a little bit of kalinga here that's popped up, a little patch, and then you get over here in the shade. I mean, it's hard to get. Bermuda won't really grow in the shade, but you got what we call chamber bitter underneath this tree in the shaded area. And I mean, that's to be expected when you have shaded area. The Bermuda's not going to grow, and with real thin grass is going to come weeds. The other weed I'm seeing is Virginia buttonweed right here. So I mean, you can see when you have huge bare dirt, you're gonna have some weeds most likely. All right, so what's the course of action today? Well, I am going to probably put a blanket application on this yard with Change Up and metsulfuron is in MSM turf at a low rate. That should get some of the chamber bitter, the if there's any spurge, which is another little small low growing weed, and the Virginia buttonweed should do a number on that. And then probably spot treat the crabgrass with solitaire. I'm on the Kalinga. I've got a combination of Celsius and Certainty, and then on the Nutsedge, I could either use the Certainty or I've also got Pro Sedge mixed up. So, you know, a lot of products, way too many products, but again, that's probably, you know, that's just kind of what you're doing when you're trying to fix a yard that had a lot of problems, you know. So, and I might actually throw a little bit more fertilizer on some of these thin areas because we still got a couple months of growing season left for these warm season grasses. If I can get that Bermuda thicker, you know, we'll be better off next year. So, you know, overall, not thrilled with how the yard looks, but made progress on the Bermuda filling in. A lot of weeds, but feeling optimistic about next year, and we'll keep tracking the progress of this particular lawn. All right, we're gonna spot treat the weeds like I described. Crabgrass with solitaire, Celsius and Certainty on the Kalinga, and then gonna use Pro Sedge probably on the actual Nutsedge up there. We'll be checking back on this yard in a couple months. Look in the description if you wanna watch the entire playlist of the videos that have dealt with this yard. You can track the progress. If you haven't done so, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We'll continue to provide the content for you. Look, let me hear from you in the comments. You hear the products I use. Maybe I've been wrestling with the sedges and trying different products, and if you've got a product that you prefer for sedges, I'd like to hear that. Some other weeds I've mentioned in this video. Talk to you guys later. Thanks.